Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Amplify Your Signal. This podcast is for job seekers and professionals navigating meaningful career transitions, and for anyone redefining what work looks like now. Today, we're talking about something almost no one talks about out loud: interview confidence after rejection. Not your first rejection, not the casual, we went with someone else. I'm talking about repeated rejection, ghosting, final rounds. We loved you, but, and suddenly you're walking into your next interview thinking, what if I'm not as good as I thought I was? And if that's you, stay with me. Repeated rejection changes how we show up. It doesn't just impact your resume. It impacts your nervous system. Every time that you prepare deeply, research the company, visualize yourself in the role, start imagining the offer, and then it disappears, your brain registers that as a threat. And so the next interview, you're bringing that with you and your body is guarded. You might speak faster, over-explain, apologize, second-guess answers that you used to deliver with ease. And it's not because you lost your skill, it's because you have absorbed that uncertainty. And most people don't reset between interviews, they accumulate. If you remember nothing else from this episode, please remember this: rejection is data. It is not identity. Rejection is data. It is not identity. When you internalize rejection, you start to interview defensively. And defensive interviewing reads as insecurity. Here's what defensive interviewing looks like. I see this with incredibly capable professionals. They overqualify themselves. They overtalk. They overexplain transitions. They preemptively defend layoffs. They add disclaimers to their own success. Instead of standing in clarity, when you are defending, you are not leading. And interviews reward leadership energy. Confidence is calm. You don't need to prove, you need to present. So let's talk about how to rebuild that confidence. Number one, reset your narrative. Not your resume, not your story. Ask yourself, what do I bring to the table independent of the last company's decision? And write that down. Be specific about the impact. Think about what revenue was influenced, what teams were built, what systems were improved, what problems were solved, what initiatives were launched. Confidence comes from that specificity, not from vague self-belief. Second, practice out loud. Most people rehearse interviews silently, and that does not build confidence. You need to hear yourself answer, record yourself answering. Tell me about yourself. Why are you looking? What happened in your last role? And then watch it back and adjust your tone, adjust your pace, notice your posture. Repetition reduces fear. Confidence returns through reps. There's another kind of rejection that we need to talk about, and it's not the we chose someone else. It's the we've decided to pause the role. We're recalibrating the scope. We're reassessing priorities. Those sting differently because you were close. And that's what's important to understand. When a company pauses or recalibrates a role mid-search, that is almost always about internal clarity, not about candidate quality. It can mean that budget shifted, or maybe leadership alignment wasn't there, or the scope wasn't fully defined, or maybe the strategy changed. Notice none of those things have anything to do with you. That is organizational instability, and walking into a role that leadership hasn't fully defined is a fast track to frustration. Sometimes what feels like a rejection is actually protection. I'm going to do a full standalone episode on paused and recalibrated roles because there's a lot to unpack there. But for now, remember this. Not every no is a loss. Every no makes room for your best yes. Some of those no's are a redirection away from what would have been a misalignment. And misalignment is exhausting. Final round rejection hits differently because by then you've imagined the offer, you've told your family, you've felt relief. So that grief is real. Allow yourself to process it, but don't let it rewrite your identity. Making it to the final round is market validation. It is not failure. That is evidence that you are competitive. Finally, create a rejection recovery ritual. So after a rejection, give yourself 24 hours. Feel it, journal it, move your body, and then extract one learning, right? What can I take away from this? And just one. So was there a question that you could tighten? Was there a metric that you could clarify? Is there a story that you could simplify? And then close it. Don't relive it for weeks. Don't lie awake at night thinking about what you could have said differently. Recovery must be intentional. Instead of walking into your next interview thinking, oh, I hope they like me, shift to, is this aligned with me? Is this what I want to do? That subtle shift changes your posture. You stop defending and you start evaluating. And that is confidence. You are not your last interview. You are not your last rejection. You are a professional in motion. And momentum returns when you re-engage with clarity and not fear. Amplify Your Signal is brought to you by People Solutions Group, where we help leaders, HR teams, and professionals navigate growth and transition with clarity and care. If this episode resonated, please share it with someone who needs to walk into their next interview differently. And if you're listening and thinking, I have a story beyond my resume, I'd love to hear from you. Amplify Your Signal exists to elevate the voices of job seekers and professionals in transitions, the real stories, not just the LinkedIn headlines. And if you're interested in being a guest and sharing your journey, you can find the guest intake form linked in the show notes. Your story might be exactly what someone needs to hear. Thank you for being here, and join me next time as we amplify voices, elevate stories, and support one another one episode at a time.
Pages blank, but hearts alive. Through their journeys, they still strive. Tales of passion, grit, and grace. Every journey